Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we're going to do the first book in the Boys of Jackson Harbor series. The name of the book is called The Wrong Kind of Love, and it's by Lexi Ryan. Now, this is a series with probably like 6 or 7 books, so I'm just going to do the first one. Each one of the books can be read as a standalone, so if you all like this, then you can dive into the other ones. I'm just not going to do a review on them, but I am myself going to read them because I really did like this first one. We meet Nicole, and she's about to get married. She is about to walk down the aisle, and she's playing over in her head a conversation that she heard her fiance Marcus saying on the phone 24 hours ago. So Marcus is saying on the phone, just one more time, I really miss you. So she tries to make up some type of excuse as to why she could have possibly heard that. She's been having dreams all week about running, and she's not a runner. And on top of it, she has a bad history when it comes to guys. So she's thinking, okay, maybe it's just because I have a bad history. You know, I'm making things more than what they are. Like, she's trying to talk herself out of what she heard. Like, she wouldn't even confront him about the phone call because she was terrified of what she might hear. So she didn't even say it, which is absolutely crazy to me. So she is a twin. She has an identical twin sister named Veronica. Veronica looks pale. And she's thinking, oh, well, she went out last night with the bridal party, probably got too drunk. But then we find out she didn't go out. And so she's like, well, maybe I just had some bad catfish. So then someone from the bridal party says to Veronica about the fact that she's leaving for a job today that she took in Michigan. So Nicole's looking at her like, wait a minute. You said you were staying the whole day. Now you're leaving? She's like, I thought you were going to be here for like another week or so. And her sis was like, I'm so sorry. You know, it's just, I have to leave. So I'm only going to be able to make part of the festivities today. That's super suspicious to me. So she finally gets down the aisle, and her sister throws up on her bouquet in her own dress. And so someone yells out in the bridal party, I don't think that's bad catfish. So Veronica's saying to her, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And Nicole's looking at her like, you know, she's not mad at her sister if she's sick. But the comment that the person just said is kind of now playing in her brain. She looks at Marcus. Marcus is looking at Veronica. And Veronica is looking at Marcus. And Marcus says to Veronica, why didn't you tell me? So Nicole, of course, runs out of there. She rode to the venue in Veronica's car. So she just jumps in her car. Veronica gets in too because, of course, you know, she chases after her. She was actually going to pull off, but then she started thinking about the fact that she's pregnant and she didn't want to hurt her niece or nephew. And then it hits her again. This heifer's pregnant with Marcus's baby. So they say like 5 minutes away from the venue. It's in Alabama. It's spelled Jeffe. I don't know if you say Jeffy or Heffy. I don't know how you say it. But that's the city that they're in. And so they get back to the apartment, and she's trying to get out of her dress, and Veronica's trying to apologize, and she was just like, just unzip the damn dress for me. So then Nicole says to Veronica, of all the people, my fiance? And Veronica says, he wasn't always your fiance. Now, who the hell would say some shit like that? Like, you have been fucking your sister's fiance, and that is what comes out of your mouth. And I guess we shouldn't be shocked, because to do something that low, fucking heartless. That makes no... oh my gosh. I would have... This is when I say just fight. Because there are no words for that type of behavior from a sibling. That's absolutely deplorable. She tells Nicole how much she's in love with this man. And we find out that Marcus hasn't slept with Nicole. This has been a really short courtship. They've been together a total of 8 months. And he proposed after 2. he's been telling her that they should wait to their wedding night, but clearly that was bullshit. It's because he was fucking her sister. So she was saying that that's why she was gonna leave. Veronica is saying this. That's why she was gonna leave, because she was trying to make it easier for her. And she was like, "What do you need me to do?" And she's saying that, I guess to forgive her. And while she's saying that, Marcus comes up, but he's calling for Veronica, not even calling for Nicole. So she just runs right past him, and he kind of just looks at her with this dumbfounded look on his face and his hands in the air, because the truth is he didn't give a shit about her. So she grabs the duffel bag before she heads downstairs, and this was what she was supposed to take on her honeymoon. They were supposed to go to the Bahamas for a week. So she gets in the car, goes to the airport. She gets there. The woman asks for her ID. She has her sister's ID because she's got her sister's purse because she took her sister's vehicle. And so she says, "You know what? Can you just look up my ticket information?" And the woman tells her, well, she's going to, I think the flight took her into Grand Rapids, but the destination is going to be a place called Jackson Harbor, Michigan. So the lady asks her, "You want to upgrade to business class?" She's like, "Yep," because it's going to be on her sister because she's got all her credit cards. So she catches her flight, gets to Michigan. She's at a bar. She's getting drunk. There's a guy at the bar named John. He's trying to basically get her to come home with him. She lets him know it's not going to happen. And then, of course, this man that looks like a Greek god comes towards her and kind of tries to help her with the John guy because he wasn't taking no for an answer. So he says to the guy, like, "Why won't you leave my girlfriend alone?" The guy's like, "You don't have a girlfriend." And so eventually he leaves her alone. Nicole and the guy have a back and forth banter. And he was like, "Well, I got a business meeting. I got to leave." And she's like, "You don't have to lie to me. It's Saturday night, 11 o'clock. You don't have a business meeting, But he gives her a wink and he leaves. Now we switch to the POV from Ethan. I absolutely love when we do from the other person's perspective. So Ethan really did have a business meeting. It's with his brothers. They own Jackson Brewery, and it's 6 of them. I think it's six boys and 1 girl. I think. Or 5 boys and 1 girl. I can't remember. So they're not really paying attention to this meeting. They really are like, "You could have just emailed all this stuff to us." So they notice that Ethan is paying attention to someone, and this hasn't happened in a really long time. So we get a little backdrop on Ethan. He was married to a woman named Elena, whom I think was like his high school or college sweetheart. They were in love. 3 years ago, Elena died. So on the low. But his brothers think he hasn't had sex since Elena died. But he just keeps it away from him because he's not trying to have anything serious. So they don't need to know about it. So after that extremely short meeting, he goes back over to her. And they have a little back and forth. And they give her some food. Because the waitress, her name's Ava, she stopped serving her alcohol because she knew the girl was drunk. And she's like, "You need some food." So she's eating fried food, which she hasn't done in a long time because she's been dieting because she wants to look absolutely perfect for Marcus on their wedding night. So, of course, she's loving the food. And he's just staring at her because he just likes the idea that she likes to eat in front of him. Because sometimes some, women can be, and this is male and female, sometimes people get, bashful about eating in front of other people. So I guess it was just refreshing to see someone that was totally at ease with it. So we find out that Nicole's 24 and Ethan's 9 years older than her. And he's not drinking because he's on call because he's a doctor. So Nicole goes to the bathroom, and while she's in there, the bartender Ava could hear her crying. She comes out to Ethan and was like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I haven't done anything." And he's like, "She took her phone. She got a call or a text, and she left." And so then the other girl was like, "Well, you need to go check on her. She's drunk." Now I'm kind of like, she don't fucking know this man. Like, don't be, I don't know. That's just kind of weird for you to try and make, you're a woman. You were in the fucking bathroom with her. Like, why you didn't fucking ask her what was wrong with her? I'm just saying. So he goes in there to check on her. He knocks on the last stall, and she comes out. She looks so incredibly sad. And she says to him, she just had a really bad day. And so she asks him to kiss her. And at first he's like, that's probably not a good idea. And she took it as a rejection. But it wasn't. It was just him honestly saying, this might not be the greatest thing to do. But then he did kiss her because he did want to do it. And of course it was phenomenal. So then she's going to leave, and he tells her, I'll walk you out, or at least get you a cab, because she has been drinking. So because her place is so close to the hotel, she's going to walk, and he's going to walk with her. They get back to her room, and she takes his hand and pulls him inside and was like, I'm not ready for you to go yet. She gives him a more explosive kiss, and he pulls back and is like, this is not a good idea. He goes inside, and of course he's like, we shouldn't do this. Tell me to leave. But she wanted him, so then they start kissing more. He starts fingering her. She's super wet, and she's super tight. She hasn't done anything, and she has flashbacks of Marcus saying how even though they weren't virgins, he wanted them to be abstinent before the wedding. And so apparently they became born again Christians, which is crazy to me because you fucking the whole time. So it's like, oh my gosh. So he puts the second finger in her, and it hurts at first, but then of course it starts to feel good. He starts to eat her pussy, and then his phone rings, and by the ringtone he knows it's the hospital, so he's got to answer. So someone on the other end tells him a patient is about 8 centimeters dilated, and he's got to come in. So he was like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. So he tells Nick, listen, I gotta go, it's work. And it really was work, and she of course was taking it as rejection. But I'm like, you can tell like she has really self-esteem issues, because the minute someone says no to her, it just crushes her whole being. It's just, I feel bad for her to a degree, like, jeez. And so he was like, it really is work. Let's do this right the next time, dinner and a movie. And he's shocked by his words because he doesn't date. That's not really what he likes to do. And so he definitely knows, though, he wants to see her again. So the next morning, Nicole has a pounding headache. Her phone's ringing. It's the actual phone in her room and not the cell phone. She answers, and it's someone named Tegan. Tegan is a friend of Veronica's as well as hers. I think they met in college. And Tegan is the one that got Veronica the job. So Nicole tells her, it's Nicole. Veronica's like, oh gosh, stop doing that crap. You did that enough in college. Well, she's like, I'm coming up. So she comes up to the room after she tells her what number she's in. She gets there. She's still thinking it's Veronica. So she's like, you look like crap. I guess the nausea and the morning sickness is starting to get to you. And Nicole says, I'm not pregnant. I'm hungover. And then it finally clicks to Tegan. Oh, no, this is Nicole, not Veronica. So Nicole is like, you knew she was pregnant? And Tegan's like, yeah, she called me telling me she got knocked up. And I figured, this was a better place for her to come because people aren't as judgmental as those, down in the South. And I hooked her up with the job to work for Ethan. Now, I got to remember, she doesn't know the name of who she was with the previous night. He knows her name because she told him it was Nick, but that's it. So she says the OBGYN is who she's going to work for, Ethan. So he also has a 6-year-old daughter who needs basically a live-in nanny. That's what the job is supposed to be. Tegan tells her, I know a great spot. We can go get some breakfast. And so they go, and Nicole tells her the whole story. And so Tegan is like, that fucking cunt, which made me laugh. And she basically lets her know that, Veronica used to do this all the time, pretend to be her, hook up with different guys. So to me, it's just like, she is just a trash ass person. Fuck just being a bad sister. She's a trash fucking person. And it seems like Nicole's the good twin, Veronica's the bad one. So she also tells Tegan about the text that she received from Marcus the previous night. And basically it was a long thing saying, I never really loved you. I didn't feel that spark with you. I wanted to, but I just never did. And I think this pregnancy was a way for God to make sure that we didn't make a mistake. So he is a complete fucking douchebag. So then her phone's ringing with her number, because you got to remember, Veronica's got all her stuff. She's got Veronica's stuff. She doesn't answer it. She lets it go to voicemail. And then Tia's like, play it, so she plays it. And it's Veronica letting her know that she just needs the information from the phone so she can call and let the people know she's not going to be there for that job. She doesn't want to leave the family in a bind. And I'm like, so you don't want to leave a family you don't even fucking know in a bind, but you're perfectly fine with fucking your sister's fiance. Crazy. Crazy. She also tells her, I'm going to use your plane ticket to go to the Bahamas. It's not what you think. We just need to work some things out. We need to do it away from everyone. What a bitch. That's all I can say. What a fucking bitch. So we're back to Ethan's POV. On Sundays, they have brunch at the Jackson's house. It's a family tradition. Ethan's mom stays in the guest suite. But she still owns the family home. But Braden is the one that mostly is there. He lives there. So it's kind of like his home. But when they do family stuff, it's always at that main house. So they have a sister named Shayla. They call her Shay, or Shaylee. I think it maybe was Shaylee. I said that wrong. But they call her Shay, so that's what I'm going to call her. And his daughter's name is Lizzie. And we find out that the mother, Kathleen, is going to go on a 3-month European vacation with her friends. And so that's why they're getting a nanny. It was a push from the grandmother so she could take this trip. Ethan reluctantly agreed. He hasn't even met the nanny yet. He left all that to his mom because the truth is he really didn't want to do it. So Kathleen Jackson is going to meet up with who she thinks is Veronica at the Ooh La La Cafe. So when she says, hi Veronica, so nice to see you again, Nicole says it's Nick. And the woman looks at her and goes, oh, I didn't know you used the nickname. And she said, no, that's my name. I'm Nicole. So Veronica, she told her, is my identical twin. So she was trying to let the woman down easy without telling her what happened. But she wound up having to tell the woman everything that happened. And the lady was like, oh, you poor thing. But then she still had an idea. She was like, what about you? Do you have any experience with children? And she does. She worked in a daycare for a long time. And she actually did that up until she quit because Marcus wanted her to stay at home. And so then we find out Miss Jackson has a little secret. The truth is, she's not really doing a European vacation. She is going to Germany for treatment. She has cancer. And so she doesn't want them to watch her die like they had to watch their father die, which wasn't terribly too long ago. As well as the mother, Elena dying as well. So she doesn't want them to have to watch that happen again. So she's going to go over here for this experimental treatment. And if something does happen, they can kind of, remember her the way she was. Kind of selfish, but I understand, why she would want that. I get that, but that's going to be difficult for your family to see it that way, So Kathleen is like, let's do it this way. You tell them your name, you go by Nick, you be yourself, but they'll think you're Veronica. She's like, because Ethan already isn't comfortable with this, and if we do a last minute switch, he's not going to go for it. And so this way we can kind of help each other out. You don't really want to go back to Jeffy or Heffy, however you say it, Alabama. So this could work out, good for us both. We also have a little bit, we find out a little bit because she's thinking about it. Nicole, she basically has been in bad relationships her whole life. She puts the person above herself every time. And because of that, they use her. Because they know she loves them. They know she'll do anything. And they use her. And that's why she didn't finish school. Because a boyfriend needed her to work at his tattoo shop. So she quit work. She quit school. Another time a boyfriend needed something else. She stopped doing what she was doing. So she's She puts a relationship over everything. So Nicole calls Tegan, lets her know how everything went, and that she's going to be staying. And Tegan's super excited because Nicole was always her favorite. So she goes to the address for Dr. Jackson. Jake, who she remembers from the bar that the previous night, is like, "Oh, hey, Nick. Didn't expect to see you." So he realizes after she says, "I'm here to see Dr. Jackson. I'm the new nanny," that she doesn't know that it's Ethan. So he walks up. He's looking crazy like, "Nick, what are you doing here?" And she says, "I'm here for the position, for the new nanny." He's so thrilled. It's so funny. Kathleen walks up and like, "Oh, great you guys meet. Go bond with Lily." So Lily can tell that there's something different about her because she says to her, "You look sad." But they still bond. Like, she takes to her right away. And then Ethan and Nicole go to the side and they talk. And she asks him, "Do you want me to leave?" And he says yes. He was like, "I need a nanny more than I need an easy screw," which was so mean, But I can't let you leave until I find a replacement. So Nicole is so pissed by what he said. She's like, "Wow, you're right." Because he did say that previous night, he said he was an asshole. And she's like, "Yeah, you really are an asshole. You need to start looking for another nanny ASAP." Nicole gets settled. She calls Tegan. She tells Tegan about everything that happened the night before. And the revelation that Ethan is the guy from last night. And she's just like, "God dang it. Like, I just can't catch a break." And so Tegan was just like, "Well, I guess it's a good thing you didn't go to Full Mile last night, So then she gets off the phone with Tegan. She's putting up her undies. And that's when Ethan walks in. And he asks her if they're doing tacos. "Did you want to come down?" She says, "No, I'm not really hungry." She's like, "But I'll come down just to spend some time with Lily. It's important we get to know each other." He apologizes to her for his behavior the night before, which makes her feel even worse because she doesn't regret it because she liked it. And he was about to leave, and then she thought in her head, what, she doesn't stand up for herself enough, and that shit's about to change. So she had to think about the fact that she was about to marry somebody and almost did it because she didn't want to have a confrontation. So she walks out in that hallway and she says, "Ethan, I'm not an easy lay. Don't ever talk to me like that again." And then she goes back in her room. Because you're assuming she's an easy lay, because this girl hadn't fucked in a long time. It's not that. It was just that I guess at that moment she needed a distraction. But I get it. He doesn't know that. He just knows you're getting drunk, you're in a bar. He put two and two together and that's what he thinks. But it's still fucked up to say that to her. You know what I'm saying? That's fucked up. So in the middle of the night, she wakes up to Ethan coming in her room to let her know he's got a call from the hospital. He's got to go. He had hoped to be there to walk her through everything, but it's not going to happen. She's like, "Cool, it's fine, no problem." She has on a camisole, and it's everything she has is sexy because it was all the shit she was going to wear on her honeymoon. So she's like, "I got to get me some regular pajamas," because he could see her nipples and they were hard. So he leaves. She goes about the day. Everything runs pretty smooth. She gets back from dropping the kid off to school. The mother lets her know they're going to have a family dinner, wants her to come. She declines, but the mother's like, "Listen, you know my secrets. You're family now, so I want you there to meet my other children." So while the kid's at school, she doesn't have anything to do, really. So she starts doing laundry. She even cleans the bathroom, even though it's clean. She mops the floor. She goes to put up the clothes, and she gets a little nosy because she had washed Ethan's clothes as well. And she saw a book on the nightstand, and it had a little note in it, and she realized it was probably a note from his, late wife. And then she went in the closet to put his stuff up, and then she saw another closet, so she opened it, of course, and all of Elena's stuff is still there. It's like she's still there. He clearly hasn't moved anything. So he catches her. He's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm putting your laundry away." He's like, "I didn't actually do my laundry." So he was a complete dick. She starts rambling, saying how, if he needs help going through her stuff, she can help do that. Just he in his brain is thinking, this is just what happened the last time when I was messing with someone. They started thinking they could replace my wife, and so it makes him even more upset. She's just trying to be helpful. He lets her know he's looking for a nanny, nothing else, and that he did ask her, if she could stay on for a couple of weeks. She's like, sure, no problem. And before she walks out, she's like, don't worry, I'll even help you with the search, so you don't need me here any longer than what's needed. They go to the family house. Everyone's there. She's introduced to the whole family. While they're at dinner, Lily asks, why isn't Nicole sleeping in Daddy's room since they're friends? So apparently because she heard someone at school say that their dad had a special friend that slept in the bed, she's thinking they're special friends where they're going to sleep in the bed. But Nikki handled it really well, and she told her, no, we're not those type of friends. It's not going to be anything like that. Just normal. Kind of hurt Ethan's feelings a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, you've been a fucking dick to that woman. Like a complete and utter asshole. So why would she ever say anything fucking different? I get it. Walls come up. You get defensive very quickly when you think certain things, but still, he's just been too much of a fucking dick. So Lily leaves the table and he apologizes to Nicole, and it's like, I'm really sorry. You handled that really well. You really are really super good with kids. And she looked at him and says, I know how to do my job, and you need to get that. And she let him know, I'm not coming here. I didn't come here looking for love. I'm not some easy screw. I'm just here to do a job, and that's it. And so he felt completely stupid, as he should have. And he felt bad, like thinking low of the woman, So it's the next day. He doesn't have anything to do. I'm sorry, she doesn't have anything to do while the kids at school. So she decides to go shopping at the Walmart to get some of the clothing for the cold weather, because she packed everything for the Bahamas. So, she doesn't have anything for this cold weather. So she goes to Walmart. A woman walks up to her and says, he'll just throw you away once he's done with you. And then she walks off. So Nicole goes to the register, and the cashier was just kind of like, you're working for Dr. Jackson, right? Nicole's like a little defensive after what just happened. She's like, yeah, is there a problem with that? And the girl's like, oh, no, he's a really great guy. So then she tells her that the interaction she just had with that woman was because Christy is someone that they used to mess around, and she wanted more, and he didn't, and broke it off with her. So she's a little, upset. So she was going to go and try and do a little sightseeing, but after that interaction, girl was like, hell no, I'm going back to the house. She gets back to the house. Tegan's there and surprising her. They have a little chit chat. She tells her everything that happened, and she tells her, yeah, they did have a relationship the previous summer, and because he didn't want to take it any further, he dumped her. So they have a little conversation about the job, and she tells, I hate to leave the little girl. She's so great, super smart, but she's just a little tired of him because he's such an asshole. So it's time for Ethan to go to a conference for a couple days. So when he comes downstairs, he sees Nicole reaching for her medication. It's a medication for depression. He sees it and trips out because he's like, you're not supposed to be on any type of medication. And she was like, well, Kathleen never asked me. And if she would have asked me, I would have told her the truth. I'm not ashamed of anything. And she was like, you're a physician, so you should know how important it is for someone to take their medication so that they can remain well. And he's like, well, are you okay? Are you able to take care of, of my child? She's like, of course I'm able to. I have everything in check. Plus, I have Shay's number, so if I need any help, I'll call her. So he leaves. Kathleen calls Lily a couple of times that day. Lily gets a little sad, so she starts drawing a picture, and Nicole takes her to get some candy. They watch a movie, and the baby gets sick. But it's not from the candy. But after the girl, poor baby, she threw up a few times. After she tucked her in, the little girl tells her, I love you, Nikki. And she was like, I love you too. And she meant it. So we flip back to Ethan's POV. He's come back. He sees Shay in the kitchen drinking a glass of wine. And he's thinking like, oh, like what the hell happened? So Nicole got the stomach flu, which is what the baby had. Because she hadn't ate enough candy to be sick from the candy. So she had the stomach flu. So now she's got it. And she called Shay to come and watch Lily. So he goes up to check on Lily, and then he goes, checks on Nick. Poor girl is by the toilet, looking absolutely miserable. He winds up taking her to his room because his bathroom is adjacent to his room. Well, yeah, right there in the room. She falls asleep, and he wakes her up, and he takes her to his bed, and when she wakes up, he's sitting in the chair and she's looking crazy because she's like, where am I? And he told her, you're in my room. I brought you here last night, because you were ill. So she goes to get up, and he tells her, drink some water, hydrate yourself. You'll feel better a lot quicker. But she doesn't like to sit and do nothing. So she starts going to clean after she takes a shower. She scrubs the toilets, and he's like, what are you doing? Just go rest. So she goes to read a book, and she finds a romance novel, and it's got another note in it. And she keeps finding these different freaking notes around the house that Elena left. Well, this note says, Elena, you deserve to be happy. Come see me tomorrow. Love, M. And so Nicole is just like, oh my gosh, like, was she having an affair? Everything's going great. A couple days later, Lily brings up about the cabin trip that they're going to take for Thanksgiving. She, of course, automatically think that Nicole's coming. And so Ethan's like, well, she might have plans with her family, And she says, I got to see what my friends are doing, which seems peculiar to Ethan because normally a person would be like, I got to see what my family's doing. So Lily goes in the kitchen and... No, I said that wrong. Lily goes in the living room to go draw a picture for her grandma because she had gotten a postcard from her and she wanted to draw a picture of her grandma. So they're in the kitchen alone, and he kind of apologizes to her, knows he's been a dick, pretty much admits this. He lets her know the reason he's been acting this way because he can't stop thinking about the woman. And he knows they're not supposed to do anything with it, but there is this intense sexual chemistry that's coming off on both ends. So later on, she texts Tegan about the sexual chemistry and that she wants to get herself off, but she doesn't have a vibrator. And she can't do it without a vibrator, but she feels like a pervert bringing a vibrator to her home where she's there to care for a child. So she's like, I'm just going to have to suffer. So she decides she's going to do a little survey of the city. She goes to Jake's bar. She has the goat cheese balls, which are even more amazing than when she remembered when she was drunk. They have a little conversation about Ethan and Elena, and he made a comment, well, she said, they must have been really happy. And Jake was like, I mean, at one point, but then he stopped talking, and he was like, but, he really doesn't like to talk about that subject. Let's not talk about that. So then she goes and does a little sightseeing. She's falling in love with the town and, of course, possibly Ethan. A few days later, Ethan comes home. Christmas music is playing, and Nick and Lily are making cookies. And he hasn't heard her Christmas music in the house in a really long time since his wife died. But he feels like, it is nice to hear it again. There's another postcard from the mom. It says Paris, but it's postmarked from Berlin. So he, of course, is like, that's strange. And Nick was just kind of like, well, maybe, she sent it once she got to Berlin. So then the kid goes upstairs. They're talking. Come to find out, she had shoveled the snow for the driveway, so she's got a sore arm. He starts massaging it. Of course, he has all these nasty thoughts. He tells her, she can use his tub to soak, and she agrees. So she goes and gets her music, puts on a nice playlist. So after Ethan puts Lily to sleep, he comes to the room. Of course, it's so erotic, the fact that she's on the other side of that room. She's naked in the bathtub, and it makes him hard, and he starts jacking off. So he makes himself come. And then he goes, cleans himself up. He gets himself a drink, notices that he hears the Jets but nothing else. So he knocks on the door slightly, calls her name, doesn't hear anything. Knocks a little harder, says her name a little louder, doesn't hear anything. He's starting to panic. He opens the door a little bit and he sees that she has her earphones on. And we get a flashback thought where he's thinking that about when he found his wife dead in the living room. That's traumatic. So he opens it. She has her earphones on, but old girl has her hands rubbing on her cooch. And right when she's about to come, so I guess she could make herself come with her hand, she looks right at Ethan and comes, and he leaves. They don't say anything. So then the next day she goes to lunch with Tegan, tells her everything that happened. And Tegan, of course, is like, well, what happened next? And she's like, nothing. He left. So we haven't talked to each other since it happened. So Tegan, of course, is like, y'all just need to bang it out, you know? And then you won't have all this sexual tension going on with the two of you. So Tegan's talking to Nicole, and it's like, you know, I'm really glad you're here. You were always my favorite twin. And Jake's like, twin? You have an identical twin? And she was like, yeah. And so, like, she was like, oh, shoot. Nicole was, because that was not something she was trying to get, you know, have out there, because she's trying to keep this lie under wraps, you know? So Tegan apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. You know, it just slipped. So her birthday is coming up. It's going to be her 25th birthday, Nicole. And so they're going to have a little birthday celebration, just the two of them. So she has a conversation with Kathleen over the phone, and she sounds really weak. And she pleads with her to come back. Kathleen is still on that thing of not wanting to hurt her family. But also she's denying them the time with them. Ethan is looking up applicants. He found one that's a preschool teacher. She sounds perfect on paper. He's thinking about bringing her in for an interview. He goes to talk with Nicole about it, and, you know, it's like, you know, what do you think? And she's just like, you know, you should bring her, because, you know, she doesn't feel like she can keep this lie going on too much longer. She actually wants to stay in Jackson Harbor, but she knows she can't do that and stay in this house. So she tells him, you know, she'll stay until February, but then after that, he's going to have to find someone else. And she'll have to find another job. So she gets a phone call from her mother. Her mother, of course, is calling Veronica. She calls her Ronnie to wish her happy birthday. She doesn't even call Nicole, which hurts her, but it's what it is. You know, that's how her mother is. She lets her know this is Nick. And she goes, oh, well, I heard you were getting married to some rich guy. And she's like, nope, that didn't happen. And she's like, we broke up. She's like, well, you'll survive. That's what you are. You're a survivor. You're good at that. She's like, you know, Ronnie was the one that always needed me, that needs someone to care for her. She was always crazy about me. So clearly we got some issues with the freaking mother. She goes to the bar to wait for Tegan. The John guy comes. That's from that was there that first night in the bar. He's there keeping her company. She called her sister to wish her happy birthday. And this phone call made me it pissed me off, because the sister was like, "Oh yeah, happy birthday." And then Nicole asked her how her trip was, and she was like, "Oh, it was good. It was fun, but since I couldn't drink, it wasn't as great, but it was nice being on the beach." Then she tells her she has to go, and so Nicole is like, "Okay, well, I'll call you tomorrow." And she's like, "No, we're not ready to let you back into our lives yet. We have some things to work out." First of all, I want to call the bitch and tell her happy birthday. Second of all, I'm not finna call and ask a bitch about a fucking trip that was supposed to be your honeymoon. Even though this was for the best. Don't get it twisted. I understand that. But bitch, you just went on. She's treating it like it's a normal trip. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, it irked me so bad. It really did. So then Ethan was supposed to have Lily that night, but Shay wanted to do a girls' night with her, so she's got Lily. So he comes to the bar and he rescues her slightly again from the John guy. They have a long conversation. He gets a little bit more information about her. She tells him about being engaged before she came and about what her sister did. So he, of course, is completely disgusted with both the ex-fiance and her sister. And so he's like, well, what do you want to do? Since Tegan can't come, I'll entertain you for your birthday. So he took her to a steakhouse. He knew the chef. He ran out real quick, got a gift. It was a necklace of the charm with a diamond accent, and it had a lighthouse because she loves lighthouses. And Lily notices she likes to take the long way home, which is by the lighthouse. So he's like, this is from both of us. So they leave from there, get back to the house. He goes in to kiss her, and she's like, don't do this if you're going to regret it tomorrow or if you're going to be mad at me. And he's like, the only regret I'm going to have is if I don't touch you. And so he starts kissing her, nice and sweet. And then he was like, it's your birthday. I just want to make you feel good. She goes, well, if it's my birthday, then I get to do what I want to do. So she drops to her knees and she pulls his cock out, gives him a blowjob. And he had to stop her because he was about to come in her mouth. So she was like, we need a condom. And he was like, I don't have any. But Nicole's got a bunch of them because she had packed a ton because she was going to go on the honeymoon with the condoms because she didn't want to have children that fast, but Marcus did. So she's got a ton. So she's like, let's go upstairs. So, of course, they go upstairs. They have a magical fuck session. They fuck probably 3 or 4 times that night. Afterwards, they're laying there, and she has a tattoo of a phoenix, underneath her breast, the breastbone area. And it had a semicolon at the end of it because it said something like, my love is enough. And his wife had a similar thing with the semicolon, but hers meant something totally different. It was completely different. She tells him the story about the mother. The mother was a drug addict. This is Nicole talking about her mom, and that they basically were in and out of foster care. So Veronica was a pain in the ass. She never wanted to accept a new family, so she would always sabotage their experiences. Whereas Nicole wanted that new family, so she always tried to be loved and accepted. So she would even do Veronica's chores. She would apologize when Veronica fucked up shit, always making excuses for Veronica because she always wanted to be accepted. And then you just kind of realize she's been doing this so long. No wonder she's so fucking broken, and why she would put on her your love is enough, because she had to probably get to a place to feel that way. And it seems like she hadn't gotten there because she was about to marry the Marcus dude, and he ain't shit. So the next morning, Shay and Lily get there early, and he jumps up. And he's like, oh, shit, And she, of course, took it as he's trying to get away from me. He does, again, when someone says something or they try to, leave from her or tell her no, it is earth-shattering to that woman. And so she went in, he left. Well, no, he was still in the room. She left and went downstairs and to meet him in the kitchen. And Shay saw him leave out of her room. Lily was eating her cereal, and then she asked to go into the living room, so she ain't paid attention to shit. And so Shay was like, was someone doing laundry last night? And she's like, no. So, of course, Shay knows they hooked up. And Shay was happy because she's like, he hasn't been he hasn't been in anything, and you make him smile, so this is nice. And Nicole is kind of like, I can't get into anything heavy. I've been in a relationship since I was 16. I've got to stop doing that. I just got to stop. Ethan comes down, and after Shay leaves, they have a conversation, and she basically lets him know that she can't do a relationship when she's going to leave in a couple of months. She just got out of something heavy and she can't do it. So he of course was kind of hurt by it, but he had to respect what she was saying. either later that day or another day, she gets a phone call from Marcus. He tells her he misses her, and that apparently Veronica was getting some prenatal checkup, and he wanted her to know that he still loves her. Just a total contradiction from that first message that he left her. And then she realizes he really is a little weasel, and he probably always was like this, and I just never, saw it. He's always been this way. So she calls Veronica later on, tells her what happened on the phone with Marcus. Veronica's like, are you going to take him back? Is that why you're calling me? You don't want me to be with him? And I'm just like, this bitch is absolutely fucking stupid. So then Nicole is like, no, I was just letting you know what you're dealing with. But she doesn't need to let her know what the fuck she's dealing with. You already know. If you're going to marry my sister and fuck me, chances are you probably ain't shit. So it's not like she doesn't know. But that's her trying to look out for her sister, and this sister shits on her. Oh gosh, it's a fucked up relationship. So then she's up there telling her that Veronica wants to know, well, when are you coming back? And she's like, I'm not coming back. And she was like, you're going to stay? And she's like, I thought you were going to come back and help me raise the baby. And I'm like, bitch, you thought help raise a baby that you had with my fiance? Bitch, you are on your own. The balls of this girl. But she's able to do it because Nicole's such a fucking doormat. Ooh. Like, I feel sorry for her to an extent, and then at some point it's just like, nah, I can't feel sorry for you. Just fucking dumb. So they get off the phone. He doesn't like, because apparently Marcus was coming home, and he had told her he doesn't like when they talk. So it's just a whole bunch of bullshit. And then she gets off the phone feeling alone, and I'm like, well, just feel a fucking alone, because I would feel like liberated to not be around those people, because they're disgusting people. So she goes to the store. She's going to buy a bunch of stuff to make for the trip to the cabin. And the woman asks, it's a different cashier, asks, you're the nanny for Dr. Jackson. She's like, yeah. And she was like, it was just such a shame what happened with his wife. She's like, he cheated on her. Cheated on him. And she's like, that's just so messed up. And then how she just left. So then she's thinking like, okay, is the woman really dead, or like what really happened, So she goes home. She's making dinner and desserts, and she finds another note, and it says that she was grateful to have Ethan's love. And it's starting to look like that woman might have taken herself out. That's what I think. So everyone's at the cabin. Nicole comes up with all the goodies. All the brothers are looking at her. Ethan hates it. But they have a good time. They teach her how to sled. And while Lily is taking a nap, Nicole goes with Jake, and he's teaching her how to ride four-wheelers in the snow. They come back, they're covered in snow. Looks like they've been rolling around in the snow. So the conversation that Shay and the brothers were having before they appeared, kind of, how do I say this? So the younger brother, Levi, was pretty much like, he wants a shot at Nicole. And Ethan's looking crazy, like, what you mean? Like, no, that's not an option, So then when Jake comes in with her, Ethan's like really pissed. And they go upstairs, Ethan and Nicole, and he tells her, like, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't fuck one of my brothers. And she looks at him like, the fuck? And she's like, so you just assume since I spread my legs for you, I'm just going to spread them for all of your brothers. And he's like, we didn't discuss boundaries, and I just want you to know I can't handle it. Like, I don't want you with anyone else. I'm just like, just say you fucking don't want her with anyone else. Like, why does everything have to be attached to an insult? Just say I want you. Like, you're assuming I'm gonna fuck them, and I haven't done anything to let you know I'm gonna fuck them. It's like, just say that you want the woman, but he always does these backhanded fucking things. So of course they wind up kissing, going and take a shower and fucking. He apologized to her, tell her I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I just want to be with you. And then after they go to dinner, Kathleen calls, but it's not a video chat. It's just the phone. Lily's sad about it because she wanted to see her face, but she talks to her on the phone. And then while the boys are watching football, Nicole and Shay are having a conversation, and we find out that Shay knows that Nicole is not Veronica, and she also knows that her mother's sick. And so Nicole told her, hold off on telling Ethan because Shay told Nicole, hold off on telling Ethan because I think he's in love with you. And being what happened over the holidays with Elena, it's just going to make it worse for him. She's like, so just kind of hold off on that and about telling about mom. She's like, I'm trying to get mom until January, to tell everybody and try and convince her to come home. So she tells her the true story of what happened. And we find out that Elena did have a heart attack, but she made herself have that heart attack. So she did take herself out. And the reason she knows it is because, the reason she knows that her name is Nicole is because when they looked at the medication that she was taking for the depression, it said Nicole and not Veronica. And then when she talked to her mother confirmed it. So after the conversation, Lily goes to sleep, and Ethan and Nicole take a walk, and he opens up to her and tells her what happened. So basically, Elena suffered from severe depression, and she had since they were younger, and it just got worse and worse. She did have an affair, and when he found out about it, the marriage was already strained, and so when he found out about the affair, he let her know he didn't want to see her ever again. He was just like, I'm done. Like, I don't want you. And she left. But then at some point she came back that night and she took a bunch of pills, took herself out. And so that is what happened. And so he's been blaming himself for that because he feels like if I hadn't lost my temper, it wouldn't have happened. But the truth is, something like that, depression, if person's determined to take themselves out, they're going to do it. And she told him, she probably held on longer because of how much you loved her. But that was probably the inevitable. She just kind of went to the darkness. I mean, that's it. So they come back. They have a whole discussion and tell each other they love each other. It's all romantic. Ethan goes to work when they come back, and Christy, the other doctor, wants to talk to him, tells him, your new nanny didn't take too long to get into your bed, because she's pissed off because she found out that Nicole had gone to that family cabin. She was never invited to any of the events, so that's why she's mad. She lets her know that Veronica Maddox has an appointment, a prenatal appointment. So he's thinking that the secret that Nicole is holding is that she's pregnant. And she's afraid that if he finds out, he's not going to want her, but he still wants her. So he's like, oh, this is going to, clear this up quick. So he goes to meet up with them at the Icicle Festival. Nicole, Elena, and Lily. And he grabs who he thinks is Nicole, but it's Veronica. And Veronica was like, oh, don't worry about it. People always mistake us. And then she says she's grateful Nicole took the job, and all this type of stuff. And he's just kind of looking at her like, what are you talking about? And she says, well, you know why I couldn't make it, and all this type of stuff. And he realizes, oh, this has not been Veronica all this time. This has been Nicole. He's pissed. Nicole comes over and he goes off and it's like, you know what? When Lily goes to sleep, you need to come and get your stuff. And Lily's like, she's leaving? He's like, no, she's not leaving, but she's not staying at the house anymore. And he just looked at her and was just so hurt and was just like, damn you. So Ethan leaves. Veronica has the audacity to have an attitude and was like, why would your employer hug you like that? You know, are you doing this again? Are you making your life about a man? And Tegan was ready to cuss her out because she was like, you got a lot of fucking nerve. And Nicole was like, no, I got this. She was like, I was going to tell him myself. I was trying to the mess that you left. She's like, I didn't mean to fall in love with the man. And then Veronica's all like, you know, how horrible life has been with Marcus this past month. He's so controlling. He doesn't even like her talking to her sister and all these things. And that she saved her from that life. And then she says, you know, you told me I could come here and we could start over, but you're doing other stuff. And I just couldn't believe the selfish piece of work that this individual is. She's just a fucking user. So then Ethan takes Lily home. Kathleen's there. She's in a wheelchair. She's got the little knitted cap on. Clearly she's sick. And he's looking like, what's wrong? Like, wait a minute, you know. And so she tells him everything. And the boy is just floored. So she goes to pick up her stuff. They have a light conversation, not much, because he knows everything and he's still pissed. And I don't think that's cool, because I'm like, if you know that the reason she did it because your mother made her promise not to tell you, it's like, plus she was running from what she was running from. It's not like she faked who she was as a person. She just didn't say what her real name was, you know. I don't know, I just felt like he was doing too much. So Nicole's staying at Tegan's place, and so is Veronica. I would have left that bitch in the street. I would have said, you need to find somewhere else. She forgave her sister too fucking quick. I'm sorry. It's like, for you to do something dirty and then still have an attitude, I can't stand the bitch. It just, ugh. So Ethan comes over. He wants to talk, but she's pretty much, you know, like, you know, I can't keep jumping from relationship to relationship. And she was like, you know, I just need some time. You know, I can't make that decision right now. So Veronica switches doctors so she can meet with Ethan, and Tegan comes with her, and they basically are like, you know, what are you going to do to get her back? And he's like, I need some help cleaning out some closet space. Can you guys help? And they're like, sure. So they clear out Elena's stuff. He lets Lily pick through it, get what she wants, and sets up a date for Nicole. But Nicole doesn't know that it's a date at the lighthouse. So Lily wants to go up to the top, and when they get there, Ethan's there, and he basically just lets her know he loves her, and he just wanted her to know that he had, you know, really started that process of dealing with the grief and letting go of that pain with Elena. And they, of course, have this wonderful kiss. And that is how it ends. I thought this was super sweet. I'm still stuck on the Veronica chick, and I can't stand her. Oh, my gosh. There's some more books in this series. Again, they can all be read as standalones. This is the first book in this series. So if you want to, you know, go down and read the rest of the character stories, the other siblings, I think it would probably be a good series for you to read, in all honesty. Because I'm definitely going to read them. I'm just not going to review it, but I am going to read them. So let me know what you guys think. Drop down in the comments section. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I will have a link down below in the description section. As always, I do know this video was a little bit longer, but it was, you know, so much that happened. As always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.